You're watching Outdoors-delmarva, which is presented by Gateway Subaru. Higher standards.
I don't know about you, but I love me some oysters. Raw, steamed, Rockefeller, casino, fried, or frittered. It don't matter. Let's get at her.
Pump the brakes, bivalve boy. Before they get to your plate, a farming company in Kent County, Maryland is out there working on the water instead of the fields.
A lot of folks don't understand how oysters go from the water to the table. And you provide that process with what you guys do. How did you get into that?
So I'm originally from the shore. I'm originally from Chestertown. I grew up on the water, recreating, never worked commercially on the water. I went away for school and I found myself in DC working desk jobs. I just was feeling unfulfilled. I didn't like being inside all the time. I wanted to come back to the shore. So yeah, I just kind of started reading about it and played around with it a little bit in hobby form for a while, and actually worked part-time at a couple farms briefly. And I figured, I might be able to do this.
And so you decided that farming oysters was the way to go versus, just going out and dredging.
Right, so not having the commercial fishing background wasn't ingrained in me as much to do it the traditional way. I think the Chester in particular is an interesting case because it used to be full of oysters. It used to have a lot of oysters. Because of changing land use, there's less natural reproduction. The state's not seeding it anymore like they used to. So really the only way I could see starting a farm in the Chester was to actually farm them myself and put them there as seed. It pumps water, so raw ambient water from the cove, which is really nutrient dense and rich in food. And it brings it up into this tank, into this trough, and the only way for the water to escape is actually up through screens that the oysters are sitting on, and then out these exhaust tubes back in the creek.
It feels much bigger than what you just see is, there's an oyster in the shell.
Yeah, there's a lot of work that goes into it. So when we get our seed every year, they're about 1 millimeter in size, so a grain of sand or so. You can fit 500,000 oysters in a bag that's the size of a small watermelon. And that will grow and multiply in size many times over by the time it reaches your plate. So we have to actually go out and undertake the process of husbandry, which we saw earlier, because otherwise the oysters would just run out of room to grow. Yeah, and the whole point of the floating cage is that you can tell it's being moved. They're being moved by the wind and the wave energy, and that means that inside the bags, the oysters are kind of moving around. They're having all these micro collisions. They're banging into each other, and that creates a really uniform, dense shell as a result. So farmed oysters grow so fast that you almost have to slow them down by some process, whether that's moving gear, or you take them through the tumbler and you tumble them all the time, and they're banging around in that tumbler. That actually creates a denser shell. It's easier to shuck.
In your opinion, do you feel like oyster farming is more or less sustainable as far as environmental and, food production goes?
I think here we define sustainability in that as long as we're able to get seed every year, we can have a crop. So it's very similar to land farming, where you need to actually be able to plant your crop. If you don't have the seed, it's sustainable only for a few years once you sell off your product. So we look at it that way in terms of a business model. In terms of environmental sustainability, it is very sustainable. It's actually restorative because we're creating habitat for bay species out there with our gear. The oysters are filtering the water. They're removing nutrients when we harvest them. The nitrogen and phosphorus are being stored in the shell and the tissue. There's actually credits you can sell on the market as a result of that. So it's very sustainable in that sense, as long as we're able to get seed, and the oysters themselves are very restorative. I think it's one of the most sustainable proteins you can get.
For those who are new to the area and just have no idea, no concept of what's being a waterman and what a waterman process is, what's the one thing that you want them to absorb right out of the gate?
Whether it's oysters or whether it's locally caught fish or crabs, people put a lot of effort, time, money, and investment into actually bringing these things to you in a safe, sustainable manner. So I think it would just be an appreciation for food and where it comes from.